Hello, everyone. Welcome to Horizons. I'll give some time to let people load in. Welcome, welcome. I see we have a few people here. Just let us know where y'all are tuning in from. We'll get started shortly. Just giving time for more people to enter the room. I'll give it a few more seconds before I get started. Okay, so let me go ahead and start this thing off. So I'm Renata, and I'm the marketing coordinator for IMHQ. And today's event is called Horizons. It's an online event that we do where we invite speakers to share their unique experiences navigating the tech world, overcoming challenges, and looking forward to their dreams. The reason why we started this series is a two-part issue dealing with lack of talent in the tech industry. So there's an underrepresentation of Blacks and Hispanic folks in tech, with Black high-tech workers representing 7.4% of the high-tech workforce and Hispanic high-tech workers representing 9.9% of the workforce in 2022, according to peopleofcolorinTech.com. The second issue is a lack of talent to meet the demand. So, according to projections from the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics, in the next 10 years, the tech workforce may grow twice as fast as the overall US workforce. And the tech occupation employment over the next 10 years is expected to grow at about twice the rate of the overall employment across the economy. But if the amount of tech roles will increase, we're going to need talent for that increase. And we do have a lot of talented folks of color in the tech industry. They may not always be seen, but they're definitely here. And us doing Horizons is a way of showing that there are a lot of talented people in this industry that sometimes get looked over or whatever the case is. But we want to share the stories of those that have made it into the industry in hopes that that will encourage others to still press forward and see how they can take up space in the tech industry as well. So today we have with us Miss Alexandria Brown. So I'll bring her to the stage and she'll be talking to us about her journey in tech this afternoon. Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so glad to have you here. I guess we'll just start off and get right into it. If you could tell us, where do you currently work and what are you doing?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandria Brown, of course, and I currently work at Cisco Systems. And right now, I am a strategic sourcing specialist. It's kind of interchangeable with strategic sourcing manager. We all do the same thing. And yeah, that's what I do. And then currently in this role, how I got this role actually was through an internship in 2022 that actually turned into a full time. I was offered the full time position, as well as I was offered the extension of my internship all the way until I graduated that year.
Nice. That is amazing. I know there's a lot of interns that get certain roles and they hope they will turn into full-time roles. So I'm like really quick, like what made them be like, "Yep, she needs to come on full-time." What do you think?
Hmm. It was different because this was like still during COVID, so it was virtual. But
Mhm.
one of the biggest things I did ask my manager kind of how and why they decided, to extend the full time offer as well as increasing my or continuing my internship was because of how I was showing up.
Mm.
They said every meeting, everything that they asked me to do, I was showing up with 100%, and it was noticed. It was noticed through the screen, which I thought was crazy. And so that's one of the big things I think.
Nice. Amazing. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But tell us more about what do you do in your current role?
Yeah, in my current role, it's kind of a mix, but right now we are, so of course I'm in procurement. So that means I deal with the software suppliers from high end to low end. I've dealt with tailspin, which is a buying from a certain percent of spend to multi-million dollar contracts. Actually currently working on those right now. And so I own BUs. I have BUs that I help procure the software for, work on the contracts, as well as, work on strategic aspects of it, understanding why we use these suppliers, how we use them, what we can get out of them, what other suppliers we need to look at. That's, what I call my day job. That's what I do 90% of the time. But I also do a lot of PAMing. I do several high level projects that include the revamp of our external Cisco.com site, our procurement pages. I spent a long time doing that, leading a Deloitte team, a team of contractors that helped to complete that, as well as a software optimization program. That was a very high level project where our executive board had asked us to, of course, optimize our software and our spend to fully understand it. And I helped organize that from top to bottom. That meant helping get the board member, not the board member, sorry, getting leadership to, come together and make decisions, as well as actually take those decisions and create results. Those are just like, two of the ones, but I still, of course, have other projects that I do as well.
Okay. So I guess for myself, because I'm like, oh, I'm not quite sure what sourcing means. What exactly are you sourcing?
Sourcing software. So procurement is purchasing software for employees. So procurement is purchasing items for employees for internal use, and so that's what we do. So that includes like buying Microsoft licenses so that we can use Microsoft. It's buying Google, buying access to certain platforms that our team can do their jobs and do it efficiently.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
I see. I was like, so what's being supplied? What's being purchased? Okay.
It
That
confusing,
makes sense.
especially with
And
the
so,
crossover with supply chain, but yes.
oh, okay. Okay. Got it. So what do you like most about this role right now?
I enjoy the opportunity and the being able just to continue to learn. I think just because of the work that I did in my internship, as well as my first 2 years in my job, have allowed me to learn across like what the organization does, branch out, kind of work cross functionally. So that's what I really enjoy, and I believe like what I'm learning now can transfer to any job. Versus some jobs are very niche and specific, like what you do there you can't really reciprocate somewhere else. But I feel that since I've branched out and done I'm an SSM as well as a PM, it has allowed me to have such a robust learning that I can take with me.
Okay. I definitely feel that. I'm like, I also love roles where there's always room for growth. I feel like there's room for growth and
Mhm.
continuous learning 'cause I just never want to feel stuck. And then also sometimes it just gets boring when it's
Yeah.
like, so this is it? Okay.
It's important to enjoy your job. It's important to enjoy your job, and then you don't ever want to be stagnant. You always want to learn so that you can be be marketable, of course, so that people still want you around.
Definitely. Definitely. So tell us a bit more about your background. Like, where'd you go to school, and did you always want to do this specific type of work, or?
Yeah, I graduated from UTSA, so right down the street. I majored in supply chain management. I had a minor in management science and a certificate in supply chain management. I don't think you need to do all that. They really just look at my major. But originally, I did not go to school for supply chain. I actually wanted to do international business, and actually growing up, I did want to go to law school, but then I realized all of the reading and how long it would take. I was like, I don't want to do that right now. So I went to UTSA, and I my major originally was management science, but during my junior or going into my junior year, they actually rechanged the catalog and reworded it, I guess. So management science essentially turned into supply chain. Same, learning processes and everything, same classes, just a new title, which I appreciate because it's a lot more marketable and it's a lot more saying, hey, I actually know a lot about supply chain. This is what I learned. This is what I study versus management science. I feel like management science can be very vague. So it was very beneficial that my degree is titled supply chain.
Oh, okay. And then so is it like since you were a kid, you always knew you wanted to do this or like
Since a kid, I always knew I wanted to do business. My parents owned several small businesses growing up and very successful ones as well. And I think that really encouraged me. I didn't know if I wanted to, of course, own my own business or if I wanted to go into the corporate world. So it kind of like learned through my different internships that I had. Freshman year of college, I had a internship with the City of San Antonio, the Economic Development Department, which I think really, helped me understand. But then COVID hit, so it was a big learning curve. I did several other things like an IBM Accelerate program, that helped me learn real life skills that helped me understand that, yes, this is the path that I want to take, and learned more about supply chain, as the years went on. But like when I was a kid, I think I wanted to be a lawyer. I actually did a Stanford immersion program for like 10 weeks, learning about law, learning about debate, and all the things. And I loved it, but decided to go this path, which I like.
wow. Wow. That's so interesting for me to hear and also important because what we like to emphasize as well is that people aren't always taking like your typical traditional path into tech. Like not
Mhm.
everyone is just like straight in school computer science or, something like that. The last person that we talked to, she was like she came from a family with a musical background and she thought she wanted to be like a band teacher more or less, like a music teacher. And then she was like, and the next thing you know, I'm sitting here talking about tech stacks. So
That's
I'm
how I ended
like,
up.
it's always cool to hear someone say like, actually, I want to be a lawyer. And I, did 10-week immersion and everything. And now I'm here doing supply chain management. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So tell us more about your tech journey, just the other little details that, people probably wouldn't think would be a part of someone's journey.
Um, I mean, I think UTSA really exposed me to it. And I think one of the key things was the internships. Seeing how tech influenced businesses, how important it was, really opened up my eyes. So, like I said, I had the internship with the city of San Antonio and learning how big companies, specifically tech companies, do affect the economic growth of cities and why they encourage companies to move there. So, opening my eyes up to that made me realize, hey, if you want to make good money, tech sounds like the best way to go. So that I feel like that's really what pushed me.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's fair. And one of the people tuned in said most people want to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, and I
Mhm.
think tech definitely needs to be added in that sentence now. Like, I think tech being someone tech related is definitely like a part of this group of things. So that makes sense. And that's why we go so hard with our mission, because we know that tech is like it's the here and now, and we just don't
Mhm.
want to see people keep missing out when they don't have to. Like, if everyone can get this tech coin, we definitely want that to happen.
Mhm.
So let's see. What are some things that you would do differently in your journey?
Since I am early in career, this was actually hard for me to think about, because same job since I graduated, internship as well, working in the same area. But these were the things that I think I may have overlooked as well as others do. So first is advocate for myself. Yes, I am a Black woman. I am a minority, but I do my job well. I know the things that I do. I should never be overlooked because of that, and I should learn how to advocate for myself. Everyone, a lot of people, with different backgrounds, but especially whites, they have learned to advocate. They know that they went to school to and they got the degrees, so they know what they do, and they know to advocate for themselves. I feel like sometimes we tend to discourage ourselves, or sometimes think that I have to prove myself, but you've already proved yourself by getting the job, getting the education. You are there, and they should pay you accordingly. So that is a big thing that I believe. Trust my path is another one. It's like, yeah, I just wanted to be a lawyer, switched over and stuff like that, and that's okay to change things. But you're on the correct path, and don't ever compare your path to somebody else, because you don't know their background. You don't know the strings that are getting pulled behind the scenes. I've seen it happen in the corporate world. I'm great friends with people, and one of my friends during our first year, actually, all making around the same amount of money. His dad's best friend gave him a call, same company that we're in, said, "Hey, would you like this job in Treasury?" He went from making he made about 20 to 30% more within his first year, and those are just because of strings and connections that he had. So I'd say, do not compare your path to others, because you just don't know what's going on in their life, what they have, the advantages that they have. And then another thing is focus on work-life balances. I'm one of those where I want to give 110% all the time, and there has to be a balance of, yes, I want to show up, and I am going to show up, but if I'm working 8 9 p.m. a lot of nights, that's not healthy. And that goes back to advocating for myself. You need to tell your managers, tell your bosses, this is what you're doing, so that they're aware, so that you can be, of course, compensated fairly for that. But understanding that there are boundaries. Like, if you can only do so much in the day, if it can't be done from 9 to 5, then it either needs to be worked on the next day, or it's out of scope. It's too much for one person.
Say that. I really like that you said that, because there are so many people that it's like finding that interesting balance between, wanting to get promoted, and putting your best foot forward so that you can continue to advance in your career, but also being like, okay, but sometimes, like, calm down. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
you don't have to do an extra 2 to 3 hours after every shift, like, because what's for you is for you, especially if during those main hours you're, like you said, putting 100%.
Mhm.
Like, it's okay to not go overboard. And I guess it makes me want to ask you, like, have you had times where you've had to like sit yourself down and say, okay, this is starting to eat into my life and it's just not that serious?
For sure. I think also you have to look at it. There are seasons where, depending on your job, depending on the timeline, you will have to work over. I mean, right now we're end of the year, and so that does apply with some of my job of having to work over. Um, but of course, there needs to be a balance. If you're having to work on holidays, if you're having to do extra stuff, if you're having to do somebody else's job, that's where the boundaries, I think, really you need to establish them with your manager. um yeah.
And could you give an example? Because I really want to dig into these, points you've made. Do you have an example of a time you've had to express to your manager, hey, this is a boundary here? Like, what did you say? Or was that scary for you? Like, what happened?
Yeah, it was definitely scary. I think the specific time is it was actually the two that I mentioned, which was the revamp of our Cisco.com site, and then our software optimization program. For the first time that I really felt it was the revamp of the Cisco.com site, and the reason why is the way that our management structure works. It goes my CPO, which is our chief procurement officer, and then when you're a new hire, you're sat underneath the chief of staff, which was my boss at the time. And so her and then another lady on our team, which she was lead of communications, they were really initiating the program and I was supporting them. But they ended up having to go into fire drills, which are just things that just happen out of nowhere that they have to give their full attention to. So we had paid, the Deloitte team a large sum to complete this project within 6 weeks for phase one. And within week two, they were like gone. And so all of it was left on me while I was also doing my full-time SSM work. And so for the first 2 weeks, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it my all, tell them I was scheduling calls. And the issue is that um, a lot of people, we were across different time zones. Since I work virtually and Cisco is such a global company, you really have to balance the time zone. So I was taking calls at 7 p.m. to accommodate some people in San Jose. And I had to tell my boss, I said, hey, I appreciate this opportunity. I am willing to give my 110%, but I can't continually working at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. It's not healthy. I will burn out, and I will not be able to give my best because of that. And she was like, oh no, I completely understand. So we were able to, we work with the team to accommodate actually my time. And then she had asked my functional manager, to allow me to prioritize this project. It's a lot easier when it's coming from above, in a respectful sense. You never want to go behind your manager's back, but it's a lot easier to navigate these things when people above are advocating for you. And I think I have a really good structure of and a really good community of people higher than me because of the work that I've done in the past that will advocate for me, and know that I will give 110%.
And that's so good that you mentioned having that backup,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you are new or especially when you are young. Sometimes when you do speak up for yourself, it's like, oh, you're young, you don't know how the game goes yet, but it's great that you're like, no, I think I know enough to know that this isn't sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have people backing me that are like, no, she is great at what she does, and this is not sustainable. So I'm like, I really appreciate that part of community. And I'm sticking to this point just really quick because I know that people don't always do their best to cultivate community in the workforce, in the workplace. They're like, hey, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do my job, and then head out. But it sounds like community has been a important part in your career starting off. If you could speak to like how you even went about building out your work community.
Yeah. I 100% believe community is one of the most essential parts of your job. Community and networking. I've seen people who don't want to, and I've seen people who do, like me. And the differences in opportunity are a lot. but it depends on what you want. Those people who do not want the networking community, or they're comfortable with their life and they're comfortable in their job, versus me, I do want to advance, and I want to advance fast. And so that's why I believe that's so important. And then how I did it was through my beginning of my internship. Like the first couple weeks, I was just meeting with everyone, and I would ask questions. Did really thought about the questions that I would ask before I met with them. And I met with everyone, VPs, directors, managers, even like coworkers, just to learn, pick their brain, to grow. And I think they all appreciated it. It wasn't that I was going in just asking, random questions. They were very specific, I would say. And then I followed up. I would say, thank you so much for meeting with me. I'd love to connect with you, meet with you again. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I'd love for you to help mentor me, help me grow. Please give me advice any chance you get. After any presentation, I always ask my manager for her advice and took it. And then I would also say, with the showing up in your connections, it does really help. I mean, my old boss she's now our VP, and having her advocate for me is a really big thing. I get to go now on work trips. Within my first year, I was flown out on two trips, or two work trips. One was our supplier day event, which our team hosts, and we have all of our top suppliers come and we give them awards. It's a full day event. I've now been on that team for 3 years. So every year I get to go to San Jose for a week, which is really fun. And then also my first year, I was selected, because not everyone gets to go. It's actually like maybe, I think it was 8 of us that year that get to go in the whole organization of 350 people, to go to our Cisco Live, which is our company-wide event, but it's more external facing for like sales and people like that, not specifically procurement. So that's why we don't get 100 people get to go. But it is important for us to go to connect and meet with our suppliers in person, to build those relationships, because they do help with contract negotiation.
That is amazing. I think I'm trying to think of that quote. It says, if you want to go faster, go by yourself, but if you want to go farther, go with others, something like that. So what you said about like faster, but also farther advancement, and you being like, that happens not just because I'm great, but also because I have people that I've been in community with that can speak for me and that are like, no, she's so cool that out of all these 300 people or whatever, she needs to be the one. We're the most familiar with her and her work. And so that's a really great point that I'm like letting absorb into my skin as well. I do like communing with my coworkers and leadership and et cetera, but it just really further emphasizes that point even for me too. So thinking about trusting your path, it was really interesting to me that you said that even with the pivot, you still trusted your path. How is that possible?
It's possible because I believe that I was gifted gifts for a specific reason. I am a devout Christian, so I fully trust that God is going to take me the way that He believes that I should go, and that gives me a sense of comfort. And also, I have gone through and I've learned things and I've developed skills that help help my natural skills. I've never, not a coder. You're not going to see me go out and try to code. I cannot do it. It would be miserable for me, and I would not be able to give my best. So I really focus on skills that I could show up easily and give 110%. And with that, that path kind of starts to curve and become straighter, so that you understand kind of, hey, yeah, it makes sense for me to go to business school versus being a veterinarian. I don't know. It's just, for me, that just wasn't, I didn't think about it because I did not have the desires and the skill set for chemistry, like there's things that made it obvious along my path.
Mm-hmm. And that's, and focusing on like your broader scope of your skill set instead of like zoning in and being like, well, since I'm good at math, like I just, either I got to be a math teacher or I got to be a mathematician or I got to be math. And it's like, no, because you're good at math, you could do engineering, you could do finance, you could do I don't know, you could also
Yeah.
do management, or so how you're like, the way my overall skill set is set up, like even if I do pivot, I have so much trust in myself and God that my skill set can fit me really anywhere. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's super cool to think about, because sometimes too people pigeonhole themselves, especially in tech. They're like, oh well, I'm a coder, so it means I just got to do something code related.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, you could like not do code and go do something else, perhaps do website design or something, or like it's okay.
And that's the thing that I had because I'm not a big tech person. I mean, I know a good amount. Can't code, can't build stuff. I don't know anything about the operation models. I have a Mac. I've always had a Mac.
Yes,
I can't really use a Windows.
yes.
So I thought I wouldn't really fit here, but I do.
Yes. Okay, I'm loving like all this information so far and advice that you're sharing. And for our audience, if y'all have any questions, like please send those to us. We'll ask those in a bit. But with advocating for yourself, when did you start advocating for yourself? And like, and it doesn't even have to be at work. It could be like, did you always know to advocate yourself for yourself since you were a kid, and that just happened to help you out by the time you got to your career? Or when did you feel like you really started speaking up for yourself?
Um, if you ask my parents, it's definitely since I was a kid. I've always been able to speak up for myself and speak up for others. And so I've always been loud with my words and said what I wanted. And so that did carry over with, going to school, deciding what my career wanted to be when others were like, hey, you should go to law school. Like you spend a lot of time in doing this. But I know myself and I know when I was going to get burnt out and what was going to be good for me. And I knew that was, as of right then, was not the right path. I mean, that even came out when I played sports all growing up, all the way through high school. And I remember it was like my sophomore year, or I don't remember when, but it was early in high school. I was on an AAUL team for basketball, and I would not hate going to practices. I would heavily despise them. I just did not want to go. And it wasn't that I wasn't good at it. I was good. I was athletic. I just didn't have the desire to do it anymore. So I told my mom, I was like, hey, I told my parents, I was like, hey, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I respect you guys spending, the money. I appreciate it, but I no longer want to pursue this, especially in college. So I essentially feel like it's a waste of time and money to continue to pursue this without having the future sense for it. So I really focused on academics so that I could get scholarships. I still played basketball through the school and stuff like that. Played it well, tore my ACL and stuff, but I feel like learning to advocate for yourself and speak up in situations that are comfortable really help grow you the fastest. It's really easy to advocate for yourself when it's obvious, when it's like somebody's being rude to you or they're saying something, out of pocket to you. It's easy to say, hey, no, I'm not comfortable with this, versus, you have a little voice in the back of your head saying, this isn't quite right, or you're not quite comfortable with this, or do you really want to do this? Like, are you just doing it to please others? So I feel like that really helped. And then going into my career, I learned to advocate for myself, but I do feel like it was a little bit late, because during my internship, I had this sense of I'm an intern, so I need to show up, show out every day. I don't need to overspeak. I need to, stay in my lane. And that's great. But sometimes some companies, they prefer you actually to voice your opinion. That's why you're there. That's why they selected you. You have a different opinion than others. So it's great to speak your mind. And so I did. I learned that during my internship. And during my first year, I struggled the first like 3 months, I would say, of having the cap on that, hey, I'm an internship, kind of like I'm an intern. Yes, I'm new grad, but I still feel like I'm an intern and they're giving me internship work. How do I overcome that? And so I had to sit down with my boss and I kind of asked, how she thinks I should do it. And that's why I feel like I was advocating for myself, because if I did not do that, I feel like I would have continued. They would have only known me as an intern. And so since I advocated for myself and I showed up, they, gave me bigger and more opportunities.
Yeah, round of applause. Kudos to you. Like that is incredible. You already having your voice so young, but also continuing to use it and also figuring out how to strengthen it so
Mhm.
that you cannot be pigeonholed or underestimated. That is like chef's kiss. Like I feel like there needs to be more talk, especially amongst Black and Brown communities, because I know sometimes we can be very like shy or scared or timid.
Mhm.
And like you said, even when that small voice is like, I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of times people of color have that small voice, but they're so scared to just
Yeah.
speak up and be like,
It's
so
important and people notice it. I mean, now I can comfortably say people come to me for advice or they come to me for questions that they have within our company, within our organization. If they want to shoot ideas out at me, or if they think that I could really help in this project because I give a unique perspective, they always ask. That's why sometimes I feel like I'm overloaded because I'm doing this project over here, this project over here, this project over here for optimization, for advancements, because I have such a, I wouldn't even say I have a unique perspective. I'm just the one of the only persons willing to have the conversation, ask the questions, even if they're dumb questions. I don't think there's really any, well, there can be dumb. I've asked a dumb question. But sometimes, you will think they're very simple questions and they're not, because people, when they're so focused on one thing, they tend to overlook other things, the small
Mhm,
thing. And so if you can ask the small questions then those questions can lead to bigger questions. And then you may have solved a problem that they've been trying to solve for 5 years, or you may have asked a question they never even thought about. So,
mhm. That yeah, I also don't necessarily believe in dumb questions. I mean, to a certain extent, but
yeah.
I'm also the type that if I have a question, I'm just like, I'm just gonna ask it. Like
Yeah.
everyone will survive. It's okay.
Oh, we'll survive. Because not my freshman year, but
Mhm.
during my internship she's now the VP, my boss, she was just telling me so much things like back to back within a call, where she was just throwing out acronyms and I was just like trying to write them down, trying to keep up. And then she said one and I was like, what's that? It was literally COGS. It was literally the economic term. And I felt so dumb after the call because I was like, why did I even ask that? But it
Mm,
wasn't a question. I was just being overloaded with information, and it was okay that I asked, because now that I asked that question, I'm comfortable asking any other question.
yes, exactly. I am pro ask questions. So everyone watching this, please ask the question. It's okay. Like at the end of the day, a lot of these, especially with tech, things are evolving so quickly. Like everything's really made up anyway. Things that exist now didn't even exist probably 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever. So it's
Mhm.
okay to ask the question, like, what does this mean? Because the term probably just got made up recently anyway. So
I agree. I 100% agree.
yes. So we have one question from one of our audience members, Akinwande, that says, as important as data analytics and sourcing tools are integral to your role, how much of a threat is AI to you presently and in the future? Do you feel like AI is a threat to your role at all or the work you do?
In my role specifically, no, I don't. It actually, they encourage us to use it to help, to be more efficient. But there's a part of, contract negotiation, purchasing the software, that has to have a human aspect, that can't be just straight automized. I don't know why I struggled with that word. But there's a human part of it, and so no, I don't feel like specifically in my role, you know, I face that issue, but I do recognize in other roles you can. So yeah, but I do feel like the AI advancement is helping. I use it all the time. I ask them to rewrite my emails, struggle a little bit with dyslexia. So it really just helps come across as like clean and professional. So I use it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, nice. So let's go ahead and get to some of your other hats or hobbies. What are your interests nowadays?
Yeah, that actually, I want to talk about this because post grad, it's one of the hardest things to find new hobbies, because your life completely changed. You went from, you were in school your whole life to now, yeah, you work 9 to 5, but you have to find a, if you're solely at your job to make money and you do enjoy it, but to make money, then you have not to find a reason to live, because that's too extreme. But you have to find, passions outside of work, or else work will become your whole life. So I really focused on that because I was offered to move when I did get my full time. They asked me to move to Raleigh or Atlanta, and I chose Raleigh. So when I was in Raleigh, I really struggled being in a new place. I didn't mind like living out of state; that wasn't something crazy to me. But it was being in a new place, being separated from my friends, my family, going to work and then home and then having nothing to do afterwards. And then plus I like moved in the winter, so like seasonal depression was a big thing because I would get off of work and it would be pitch black. Like at like 3:30 it would be like the sun was going down. Like 3:34 the sun was going down. So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
so imagine that, like being in a new place that you're getting off of work and you're like, dang, I gotta go to the grocery store now, but it's like it's dark. Like, okay, then I go home, cook dinner, and it's like 8, and I'm like, there's nothing to do because it's pitch black. Uh, so yeah, so I really started to try to focus in on things that I like to do, and at that time I wasn't working out, and I had worked out all of high school and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, let's try something new. My brother introduced me to pickleball, and I loved it. Actually, met a full group of friends, community in Raleigh that I would go play with, hang out with. And so that really helped. And then another thing that I love to do now that I'm an adult is continue to travel. I've always traveled as a kid growing up. And I just don't like to stay in one place too long. So I'd love to travel. I recently just went to Europe with one of my friends for 17 days. And that was really cool.
Where in Europe did you go?
So we flew in and out of London because that was the easiest. So we were like there only like a day. But we went to Barcelona for like a week or like 5 days. And then we went to Paris for 5 days. And then we went to Antibes, which is in the south of France, for 5 days. And then like in Antibes, we went to like Monte Carlo, Monaco, so the country. And then we went to, on our way back to London, we took a 12-hour layover in Amsterdam. So I hit 5 countries, which I thought was really cool.
Wow. I also love to travel. So, and I keep telling myself, like, next time I go to Europe, I need to do exactly what you did and just like do longer layovers and stops and stuff. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I had a lot of my friends studied abroad, so they were like, once you get there, you realize how easy it is to get around. It is still a little confusing because we hit all the hiccups. I mean, we booked our train tickets, but we didn't authorize the trip or something in the app, which we thought was so weird. So then the conductor charged us like extra money because of it. So there were some hiccups. We missed a flight. But once you get over there, it is a lot. Like it is easy to get around. So I do encourage when people go to go for a bit. Versus, oh, just going to London and flying back. Then the next time you have to fly to Paris and then fly back and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, we only spent like $700 on our flights, which was crazy cheap at the time. And so we were like, well, might as well just do as much as we can. We were going to try to do like 7 countries, but then we thought that was insane. So
That it might be a little intense, just a little. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we were like, we really want to enjoy the places that we go and be there for a while, which we did in most. I would say like Paris, you could go back and be there for 2 weeks and still honestly not see everything because there's so much to see in the outskirts. But yeah, I will definitely be going back soon.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And then, so you're into trivia as well? What does that look
yeah,
like?
I love to do this with my friends. It's like one of the things that I'll get them all to like go out and go do just at places in Austin. They do like different theme trivias and stuff like that. And so it's a great way for me to like bring all my different friend groups together and do something with them.
Never thought of that because I feel like I have a few different like friend groups too, and I've just never thought of like trivia as the way to bring us all together. And what does that trivia look like? Because when I think of trivia, I think of like, I don't know, Family Feud or something, or
It's like
Jeopardy.
It's kind of like that. I mean, local places, local restaurants, bars will host an event. And it's like you have a team and then you go through rounds of like answering questions, which they all can be different. Like I've seen different style structures of trivia. Like one of the most intense ones is pluckers. Like pluckers on like Tuesday or Wednesdays. I think they do it and people are like hundreds of people are in there. Like it's actually insane. And they like range from the questions they asked, like generic trivia questions to like specific, like the recent one that I went to was a Grey's Anatomy one. I've seen that show way too many times. So we came in, I will argue, we came in first, but technically we came in second. And the only reason why is because when we typed in like our answers, it wasn't like word for word what she had. So I think like that's why. And it was two people going against a group of like 8. So like the fact that we got second was pretty impressive. But then other ones, they're usually like general knowledge, which I enjoy. Like they'll ask like which team has the longest wait list for like season passes, like season pass holders, and apparently it's like the Packers
Oh,
or something. Yeah, and it's like 100-year wait list.
what?
Yeah, like you learn.
100 years?
Yeah, it was something like insane. I don't know if it was the Packers. I feel like it is because they're one of the older teams. But yeah, so they would ask questions like that where you're like, oh wait,
Hmm.
I know that, but now I know this information.
Okay. See, and now I'm gonna have to visit my local pluckers because I didn't know they were doing all that. And also, I'm like, I'm not against learning random fun facts like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds fun. Okay. So I think our last slide that we have is what are the biggest pieces of advice you would give?
Just to continue on, like what I've been saying is be curious, stay open minded, explore new ideas. I just continue to do that, continue to ask questions, like I said, of course. Don't hesitate to, to understand, to understand, but then also to spark ideas. You may ask the most outrageous question, and it may actually be the question that they needed to help, change something. So I think ask questions are really important, and then continue to learn. Make sure that you're marketing yourself. Yes, you have your day job, but it is good to learn things outside of your day job to cultivate skills, to hone in on things, so that if anything happens, you are ready in the workforce to find a new job or to ask for the promotion. I mean, if you are stagnant, if you're staying at the same knowledge, performance, and everything, why would they give you the promotion? If you're acting comfortable with your current role and your current performance, and they don't see an improvement, then why would they pay you more? Because now that's a waste of money for them, essentially. And then never limit yourself. Embrace challenges and believe in your potential to grow. I think that's super important. Never just say I'm just a coder, or never just say I'm just a teacher. That's all I can do, when there's a whole world out there. There's so many things, so many new jobs. I mean, 5 years ago, we didn't really have AI like that. And now you have a whole companies that are based off of it with new jobs that didn't exist, 5 years ago. Same thing in other areas. So never limit yourself. I truly believe if you show up and the job and the placement is meant for you, they will find a position for you. Um, and they will make an exception for you. So don't limit yourself. If that job doesn't exist, it could exist.
Heavy on it could exist because I have seen it personally, like roles
Mm-hmm.
that didn't exist and the talent that they would meet. Actually, I have a friend that's interviewing for a role right now with this company, and they just made up the role like the other day
Yeah.
and reached out to my friend and was like, "Hey, you seem great for this role we just made up." And she's like, "Okay, sure." So now she's like in the process of interviewing, and the interviewing's been going really well. And so I was just like, "Well, congrats on your made up role."
Love that. Yeah, exactly. Like one day they could be like, "Oh, we really like this candidate. Like we don't have a specific role for them, but what could we hire them for?" And then they'll figure it
Mhm.
out. we'll figure it. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, my job, yes, I'm hired as an SSM, but I say like half of my day is a PM. So I've asked my boss, hey, what role accommodates both? And they say that doesn't exist yet, but we'll wait a few months and we'll see. Because I've heard some things. So, yeah.
Exactly. That is amazing. Well, I think that's about all that we have. We didn't have too many questions, but I feel like you were super thorough in all the advice and the wisdom you were sharing, the insights, the tips, even the fun things or the untraditional things that people wouldn't expect. So I just want to say, like, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you so much for being here. It was so cool talking to you, honestly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate, talking to everyone. And then reach out and ask me any questions if you guys have any. But it was really nice talking to you guys.
Where can people find you?
Can I drop my LinkedIn in the chat? I can do that.
Hmm. Definitely. So while she's sharing that, y'all can see there's a QR code on the screen. If any of y'all are in tech and you are in a technical role or a non-technical role, or you've taken a traditional path into tech or a non-traditional path, it doesn't matter. Please, like, reach out to us. We would love to share your story. We would love to have more stories for people to hear, so that they can know that their own paths into tech can be whatever they want to be, honestly. So here's her LinkedIn on the screen as well, linkedin.com/n/Alexandria Brown 2023. Connect with her, reach out to her. She's clearly a great source of intelligence, advice, knowledge, all the things. So hit up Alexandria whenever you get a chance. Thank you so much, Alex. We'll see you later.
Mhm.
And let's see, what else do I have to share with y'all? Um, okay, so we have that. We also would love your feedback. So scan the QR code. Let us know, what did you think of today's event? What would you like to see in future events, whether it's in person or virtual? I'll give y'all time to scan that. And also, please donate if you can, whether it's a few dollars or it's all the dollars. We'll take those too. Your contribution to Autumn HQ directly supports our mission to advance digital equity, foster diversity in the tech industry, and create pathways to economic opportunities for our communities. So please support this movement. A lot of the work that we do, paying for people's courses, which I guess I should cover that. So we do pay for people's Google professional certifications to get upskilled, whether it's in data analytics, project management, coding, digital marketing, etc. We do cover the cost of those courses for y'all. We also put on amazing events like our Tech Bite series that's been going on strong since last fall, where we get together people in tech and people interested in tech, put them together in a room, have some panels and some workshops, and help people get to know each other. And also through our job board and through any job opportunities and internships we hear of, we love to share those things with y'all as well. But we need support to continue doing this work. So please support us in any way possible. Even if you'd like to become a panelist or something like that, reach out to us at contact@autumnhq.org to get involved. And let's see what else. I think that's all we have. So thank you everyone for tuning in. You can follow us on social media at AutumnHQ. And you can also visit our website at www.autumnhq.org. Thank y'all so much and have a great day, everyone. Later.